Hello again, and welcome to High Ground Financial Freedom Podcast. And today, I want to bring to you Mr. Pettigrew, Mr. Ronald Pettigrew. And Mr. Ronald Pettigrew, he's going to talk about himself, but I want to just give a quick introduction. This gentleman is my mentor. He's been my mentor since 2013 when I was a command sergeant major in Hinesville, Georgia, in 176, which transitioned into 19 Field Artillery. And I really want to bring him on today to talk about the importance of mentorship. I know we see a lot of Hollywood movies where you have the lone gunman go in, the lone gunman go shoot up people, and or the person that's doing sports and they're doing things by themselves and they making life happen by themselves and they are very victorious and champions in life because they figured it out by themselves. They're their own hero. And I'll tell you, that is completely Hollywood because the importance of a mentor cannot be understated. And again, this is my mentor, and I want him to share who he is first, and we're going to get into some talking about his life, his successes, and what has made him the person he is, and why he has been so successful. Mr. Pettigrew, for the listeners and the viewers that don't know who you are, please share away, sir.
All right. Well, I appreciate the introduction there, the kind introduction there, Sergeant Major. Again, my name is Ronald Pettigrew. I'm hailing from Columbus, Georgia right now. Um, I had a chance to meet the Sergeant Major, like say, what, 12 years ago, 13 years ago.
Yes, sir.
At the time, I was doing financial planning for the military. I've been a military personnel for almost 30 years. Really enjoyed my career there. Uh, the topic he wants to talk about is mentoring, and really it's when I look at it and think about it, it's fairly simple. See, in order to have a good mentor, you got to be a great mentee. You got to want to be able to be humble. I would say humbleness is the biggest part of that. It's you seeking them not seeking you. That's what causes you to be humble. Again, I had a mentor. I will reference had. He's deceased now, but I had a mentor, which was truly a blessing in my life for over 30 years. And the deposits that he deposited in me was rock solid, worth its weight in gold. So not everyone has a mentor, seek to have a mentor. And I think that's a something on your part that everyone should have one. There's always someone that's leading and you just have to want to follow, but make sure you know who you're following and what kind of deposit they're depositing into your heart. The Bible says, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. So, what are they depositing into that spirit that causes you to want to be the best that you can be? I don't take that credit for myself. Like I said, I've had an awesome mentor. Just a little bit about him, he was a great businessman, very successful, very wealthy, and he would take the time to sit down and we would spend time together talking. I might be a little bit off the subject, but if you have a great mentor, you know, I can recall one time I was on my way to work. I had to be work at 3:45, and I stopped by his office to talk to him. And we got engaged in a conversation. And the next thing I knew, I called in sick. I didn't go to work. It was just that much of an engaging of a conversation that was forming and shaping my outlook and my mentality about my vision in my life. And that I can't say nothing less than that about having or being mentored. Everyone doesn't get them, but if you can find you one, and I would say that that's a must in your life. Everyone needs one. Even now, I still look to see how I can be mentored. I do have a few little challenges in my life, and one of them is being transported now. However, I'm still always open for looking for that mentorship. And anybody can be one. It just you got to make sure they're rock solid mentors. I look at the sergeant major. I call him the sergeant major. Awesome mentor. He doesn't know how much he still pours into my life and how much I continue to grow and expound from the things that he continues to share with me. And I watch him as he's growing and developing and how big his heart is. That's a mentor. A mentor has a big heart and it's open and it's just about serving. Um, I wouldn't look at myself as a mentor, but I have a mentee. I ride him sometimes, and it's just a wonder to see him growing and developing and making the changes for the betterment of mankind that he is. And I don't really take a lot of credit for that, but I'm thankful that he will listen, and that's a big part of being a mentee is you have to be willing to want to listen. You may not apply all that you hear, but those one pieces of nugget that you do hear, they're worth applying, and you'll see how much you change and develop in having that mentorship in your life. At this particular point, I wish there was more that I could do in mentoring. I think about it. However, I have transportation issues, and I look at the challenges. But the Bible says we're more than overcomers because if that pull is great enough, you'll find a way to make a way. And I truly believe that. But this is a mindset. This is all about setting your mind to be the best that you can be. I can recall. I hope I'm not saying too much, but I can recall, being in elementary school, um, our motto, and it stuck with me, and it still sticks with me today. And the motto goes like, "Prepare for tomorrow by doing well today."
Mm.
And that still sticks with me from elementary school, man. And it's true. It's more truth than poetry in that saying. Prepare for your tomorrows by doing well today. Well, how do you do well? You do well by serving, not just yourself, not just your family, but people. That's one of the great commandments. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. And if you can bring yourself to doing that, you'll find how wealthy you really are. It's not just about your finances. It's more of how do you serve? How do you humble yourself to be a servant? And that's just loving on people the best that you can. Some will, some do, some don't, some won't. But even in it, you do your best to leave a deposit of serving wherever you go and mentoring. You'd be surprised who may watch you. You'd be surprised who's looking at you, how you carry yourself. I remember as a child, my mother would always say, hold your head up high and look people straight in the eye. And if you look around today, it's one of the things that people drop the ball on, especially in our youth. They don't hold their heads up. They don't look people in the eye when they're speaking. That's a self esteem issue, I believe, that, permeates throughout what they're becoming in their lives. So, mentorship is just making those deposits in people's lives, predicated on past experiences that you may have had that's served you well. And it's a wonderful thing when someone looks at you or calls you or want to be mentored by you, willing to spend that time with you because they think that highly of you. And that's, it's truly a blessing. It's truly, truly a blessing. Uh, and I am to say that I am blessed. I look at my little mentee. Um, he checks in on me. He follows up on me. He comes to me with these questions. He talks to me about what's going on in his life, and that helps give me life. That helps keep me engaged. It helps me keep wanting to be the best that I can be and keep developing, despite any handicaps that you might have. It's always a way to. The Bible says we're more than overcomers. So that's what I think about. Mentoring. I don't you don't get a big head about it. It's a blessing to if someone sees you as such. And then at that point, you just be grateful and thankful that someone thinks that much of you, that they're willing to be mentored by you.
No, that's excellent, and I appreciate that. Great lead in. You gave us a lot more than I expected, and I appreciate that. What is that board behind you too? I guess it would be to your left. That,
Yes.
yeah.
You know, it's a vision board, man. That's been hanging up to about 4 or 5 years. And I believe that everything is biblical. The Bible says, "My people will perish without a vision." Uh, Let me see. My people will be destroyed for a lack of knowledge, and my people will perish without a lack of vision. So it's just something that you see where you want to go in your life. How do you want your life forming, shaping, and developing? What's important to you? And those things that are, put them where you can see them. These are goals that you might want to attain in your life. These are significant milestones that you want to reach, and you keep them in front of them because that's your vision. Because without your vision, you'll perish, and it's very, very so true. So I keep my vision board up. Even now, I walk past it and I put it where you can see it. When I come into my little office, I walk past it and I look at what have you accomplished on this? Are you living up to this vision you had 5 years ago? 10 years ago? Are you in line with that vision? Have you outgrown that vision? Or are you still in pursuit of those visions? So I keep that hanging. Does it need to change? Well, you can always update it. You can always update your vision. Visions, you can always expand your vision. But accomplished ones, step by step by step by step by step, has always been my belief. Step by step, write them down, um, and they will serve you well. And it's always something you can look back on. I have some books down there um, about 20 years ago when I used to write down my goals and write down, what I was going through. And I was reading over some of them yesterday of, did you accomplish any of these things? How far have you grown? Again, that was a vision that took me back 20, 30 years. And I can put a check by some of them. Some of them, fell to the wayside. So that's pretty much, I know I spoke a lot on, but
No,
that's
no, that's good because I
it,
mean, how
it's
how often do they come true? Like when you're writing things down, you're writing down your goals, whether they're short term or long term goals throughout your life. How often do they come true when you write them down or have a picture?
it's magical. They do come true. Why? Because these are the things that's down in your psyche, down in your essence, down in your spirit, that's most important to you. So you work on those things. You don't there's no such thing as quitting when it comes to you and developing you. You always, always, always working to be the best that you can be. um, they do come true. But you have to. That's why the Bible says, write your vision and make it plain. It's all biblical, and that spirit. However, you have to bring it to the surface to make it a reality. There's no try in your vision. There's only doing. We just continue to do. Words are extremely important, and we use disempowering words so much and they become so habit forming we think nothing of them, but they actually take effect in our life. One of the biggest ones is using the word try. Well, what does that mean? What does that actually mean? I'm a try. What does that mean? It's a word I eliminate. It's always I'm doing, I'm in the process of, I'm accomplishing. This is what moves you forward. This is what, you speak to yourself more than you hear anything or anyone. Well, what are you saying to yourself? How do you talk to yourself? How do you encourage yourself? How do you empower yourself? Word power. And that's just words I choose to believe hard. It's another word. Well, who wants to do that? Who wants to do anything hard? but who believes in wanting to be challenged and rise to the occasion of challenges? This is another substitutive word for hard. These are the words I choose. I heard someone one day say, "Be careful of the words you choose to say. Make sure they're soft because you might have to eat
I really like that. You said you're the one who listens to your voice more than anybody else or any other thing. Your voice is what's coming in. That's what you're always hearing. And so you're saying take try out and take out hard out of your vocabulary because again, it's either I think Yoda said it. It's no try. It's either you do or you don't do. There is no try. And who wants to do something hard? I think that's powerful, very impactful. And those are the things I've learned from you throughout the years is even when I was a CSM, Command Sergeant Major, you were trying to tell me about finances. And I was so fixated on products like whether it was stocks, bonds, mutual funds, the TSP, and which were doing good at the time, but it was based on a system. And these are the things you were trying to tell me. And I couldn't see the vision. I couldn't see what you were really saying. And I had things were very hard for me because I was locked up. My mind was really locked up. And I think at the time, had I listened, then, I would have I've been a little bit further off than I am right now. But you have discussed before, sometimes you're not ready for things. Information coming in, you may not be ready for that information. And so sometimes we allow ourselves to be stuck in a place because we are not willing to take in something that may sound taboo or foreign because we've never heard it before. And sometimes we find ourselves getting stuck, and we're the ones who stick ourselves because you were putting out the same information that you talk about right now. But again, those were foreign things. So my mind locked up to wanting something that was familiar. I wanted the familiar. I didn't want to hear something new. So, and I was trying, there's that word. I was trying to hear what you were saying, and I should have just listened as opposed to trying. And then what you were saying was kind of hard. And then I was like, well, that seems a little bit hard, a little bit difficult. So again, those words locked my mind up.
Mhm.
So what keeps? Oh, go ahead, sir. I'm sorry.
No. You're absolutely. That's just why I say, word power. If you go back biblically, when God was creating, He never used the word try. He said, "Let there be, let there be, let there be, let us create, let us do, let us do." Never was, "Well, I'm gonna try to do this, or I'm gonna try to do that," or, "Man, that's gonna be hard for me." Um, and it is. If you say it's so, it's so. And your body and your chemistry reacts to those words that you choose to eat. They do. So again, uh, not to beat it up is why do you want to do something hard? But this is the conditioning that we have given ourselves over all these years. To me, wanting to replace some of these, I call them destructive words, with more empowering words, is another, what's the name of your company? Higher learning, higher development. And we have to continue to grow and process and develop, become the best we can be. Will we fall short? Absolutely. Do we have to accept it? No. We get to choose. We get to choose our right and wrongs, our good and bads, our ups and downs. We get to choose. We're in power. That's what Jesus gave us. He left us say, "I have given you power." What does that mean? What is it? Define the word power. The ability to act. It didn't say the ability to try. It says the ability to act. That's
Right. No,
powerful.
that's good. That's right. So what keeps you? Because I mean, I've seen you throughout the years, and you have not degraded. I've seen people. Some of my clients are in their late 60s and 70s, and unfortunately, they have a mindset where they're like, "Hey, I've arrived," and you really never arrive. But what keeps you hungry? Why did you start a, I mean, we're a part of this book club, you and I, some other brothers, but what keeps you going? What keeps you wanting to learn more and not just say, hey, I'm retired, I'm just going to kick back?
Well, I don't believe in retirement. My belief, and see here again, it's all about what you choose to believe. It's all about what you choose to let in this ear gate. That's why you have two ears and one mouth. Which one is more powerful? What's coming in or what's going out? So it's all about what you choose to accept. These are choices you make in your life. Um, Forgive me, so I kind of lost the question. What was the question again? You
No,
have to
just
forgive
no, you're okay,
me.
sir. Just what keeps you hungry? Why do you
Uh,
continue to thrive, and what makes you want to keep going as opposed to just sitting back and chilling, mentoring here and there and be like, "Well, I'm done. I'm
mhm.
good." What keeps that fire in your belly?
It's what I've become. That's what I've become. Is that type of person. That's what I developed myself into over the years. Is to always reach for the higher rope. Always, despite what I'm going through, despite my obstacles, I've conditioned uh, myself to go for gusto. Be all you. The army say, be all you can be. Well, why listen to those words? Word power. Be all you can be. Well, what does that mean? That means you never stop. You never stop. You know, people talk about, now watch the words. I don't say I'm retired. I don't use that word. But to me, I look at retirement, you 6 feet, you're done. I use the word, I'm living my leisure life. So you tell me which ones you choose to have, the leisure life or to be retired. Because that word has an effect on what it is you choose to do or not to do. Think about it, I'm retired. So I'm just gonna sit at home and just do nothing because I'm retired. But I say, hey man, I'm living my leisure life. Well, there's still more leisure for me to live. Word power again. Conditioning. How do you condition yourself to function? You're in charge. You're in control. You're the captain of this ship. You know, right now, Sergeant Major, I speak on it, on our Sunday meetings. I have a huge challenge in my life. Very huge challenge. Reading that book, man, them words are so small. And I was sitting up reading it this morning. I got a magnifying glasses, I got eyeglasses. Why? Because I choose not to stop. I
Right.
choose not. I'm more than an overcomer. I choose to be a part of this group that I'm in. And if I can deposit into this group and somebody can pick something up, so be it. But more importantly is, what do I learn from Sergeant Major? What is he depositing into my life? I'm watching you as you watching me. I'm like, man, this man is out here doing it, man. He's educating people. He's out here making it happen for himself. He's developing, growing people up, changing people's lives financially, helping people change their lives financially. So it never stops. It never stops, man. And I am extremely overwhelmed at the guys in the group. I'm watching, man. I watch you guys closely. Actually, you guys are family. You guys are family. I just you guys amaze me, man. I look at the youngest of you, Malik, and I'm watching how Malik is growing and developing. You're still growing and developing. You still being impactful out there. Look at right now. Where would I be? Probably sitting on the couch watching a little TV, chilling out. But why am I here doing this broadcast with you? Hey, Mr. P, I need you to be online with me, man. And I had a little reluctance at first. Why? Because I have a setback, a mental setback. And I didn't feel that I would be comfortable enough or able to do it. But you kept talking. I said, you know what? Let's do it. It don't. That was my thing. It don't matter. I'm getting it in. That was my thoughts. I'm getting it in. If he thought enough of me to invite me, then I got to be big enough to accept the invitation.
And I appreciate that because I mean, your words are very impactful. You've done so many things. I mean, businesses. You've had what, 3 businesses?
Yeah. Yes. I
All
have.
successful, all successful businesses. Real estate. You still got real estate. You know, you've done all of the things that you've taught and try to push into people. And I mean, you chose to be around service members. I think for me, that was one of the most impactful things is to see you around young service members, and you would do people's taxes for free at the time. I remember back then, you
Right.
know, you would do which that was a headache for me, like doing working on my taxes. And I remember you'd do taxes for free. You'd help people
Right.
out just because you saw the struggle. And then you also served in the military. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah, thank you for
Uh,
your service. How many years you do?
oh man, I had 29 years, 28 months.
Mm, man, that's a long
You
time.
know,
Thank you for your
that's what.
service, brother. Thank you.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Just a little bit about that. You know, this is where you know having the right people in your life. Having the right people. There's a lot of people going to come into your life, but are they the right ones in your life? I remember, my second year in the military. At that time, this was 1977, and they were letting people out, early outs. And I chose to get out. So I was going to get out the military. So I called my mom. Man, you talking about some wisdom. And she said something. She said, son, think of all the things you started and never finished. When you going to finish something?
Mm,
And that phrase, that comment took me another 28 years in the military. Y'all never quit. There's no quitting. You just continue to drive on, man. Those words still ring in my mind. That's why I'm here on this on this podcast with you today. Think about all the things you started and never finished. When you gonna finish something? So
mm.
I'm not finished. I'm not finished, man. I can still walk. I can still talk. Don't see as well anymore. Don't think the way I used to think, but I'm not supposed to. I'm not supposed to have that same thinking. I work at elevating my thinking. I'm surrounding myself with, people such as yourself, Sergeant Major, um, very, very, very educated, but also very humble because look at the things that you do, how you give, having me on this line today, having me on this podcast, surrounding myself with greatness, that's it's still a pull in my life, regardless of my I don't like to call them disabilities or handicaps. Um, my setbacks. I like calling my setbacks, regardless of them. Um, one of the biggest one is though is not being able to get in my vehicle, man, and get on down the road. That's a tough one.
Yeah, but you haven't let
That
it stop you though. I mean,
oh no,
you still, I think you really understand that word evolve. And that's
yeah,
what we do as humans. If we're still stuck in the exact same place we were last year, we need to change something, whether that's reading a book, putting other people in our lives that's doing better than us, reading more, doing something to advance yourself. Not it's not about being better than nobody else. It's about being better than who you were yesterday. We're
mm-hmm.
not trying to better ourselves to be better than no one because we want everybody to come. We want everybody to go with us together on this journey. I think that's what's very attractive about you. It's like you've always wanted to see other people doing very well. Again,
Mm-hmm.
whether it was the taxes or I got into real estate because of you. I got into this whole financial thing because of you. And you always wanted to see people just thrive because none of this
Mm-hmm.
stuff we can take with us. None of
Absolutely,
it, none of it, none of it's going to follow us. And the only things that's going to be left on this planet when you go is your impact, how
absolutely.
you respond to the different stimuli that's out there, whatever's going on in the world, people are going to remember that, and your impact you made in people's lives. And we're not doing what we do so people can say, "Oh, that was a great guy." It's just there's a desire that exists in certain people that they have to see other people thrive, and then that makes them move more.
Right.
And that's it. I
Right.
mean, you have that desire. I think there's a lot of people out there that have that desire. Now, what if a person has that desire to want to see people do well, and let's say they want to get into finances? Like, what would be some of your advice? Like, if they wanted to learn about finances, what would you tell them?
Quit talking and start doing.
Quit talking and start doing.
That's it, man.
Mhm.
Just do. I was thinking about this. Michael Jordan said something one time. And I was just thinking of meditating. That's another word, meditating. But I was just meditating on something he said, and it made me look at my life. He says, "Elevate in the air, then decide."
Mm.
You know? Yeah.
I guess he did have a lot of hang time. I guess he
Hey, do something. What he was saying is do something
do
and
something.
then decide.
Mm.
Then decide. Not like, man, that was
So,
he
because
was
even if you make a mistake, I guess if you make a mistake, you'll be okay because that's how we
you're gonna
learn
learn.
this. Yeah, we're gonna learn something.
You're
So
gonna learn
make a
something.
mistake, and then you know not to go that way, and you know to go
Right.
this way. So just, I like that. Just do something.
Do
Just
something.
get something done, and then decide.
Yeah. Robert Kiyosaki says something. He says, be, do, and have. Become it, do it, and then have it.
Yeah, that's a powerful
Be in it.
gentleman right there, Rob. You bringing up a powerful name right there. Oh, Rob.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Yeah. Be it. Do it. When you go back and read some of his books and look at how he got started, man. This guy used to live down in the basements, a friend's house, in the basements. But he was being something. He was already where he wanted to be mentally. He just had to go through the processes of getting there. But that means, there are certain things that had to die in your life and you had to sacrifice in your life to get you from where you are to where you want to be. And I teach on the 4 Ds. If you talk to Malik, ask him what the 4 Ds are. And if I can recall them, the biggest one, number one of the 4 Ds is your desire. You have to have a desire. You have to have a drive to fulfill that desire. You got to be you got to be disciplined to fulfill the desire and the drive, day in, day out, night in, night out. And you got to be determined. So you put those 4 Ds in your life, you're going to accomplish something. But if you have no drive, you can forget the rest of those D's.
To do something, huh? Just do something.
Yeah, that's your drive. Your drive causes you to do something. That's your drive.
And then
But you
decide.
look, yeah, you
I like
drive.
that.
When you're going down the road, you drive. You might not know where you're going, but you're driving. You're moving. You're going forward. And as you're going forward, then you'll determine, you'll decide, well, where am I going? And then it'll come to you. See, all you have to do, everybody, from my experience, and this is something I thought about, thought about this stuff. We always looking for the answer, but we never ask the questions. See, when you ask the question, you'll get an answer. Just ask the questions.
Mm.
What am I to do with my life? Your brain, the powers to be, the spiritual part of you, is going to go searching for you. It's searching. All you have to do is open up your mouth and speak. What am I to do with my life? That's the question. The universe will begin to interact with that question. And it might come to you in a dream. It might come to you walking down the street. However, but if you never ask the question, how is it going to come?
Well, I mean, the challenge would be finding out that you may have to make some changes because we want to stay in a comfortable place. I mean, look at one of the reasons people say, well, you have a lot of good information on your app. Why'd you create an app? Well, here's the thing. I created an app and not just put it in Instagram, TikTok, and all these other places because you cannot compete against an algorithm when you're swiping, all that swiping. Those swiping takes away whatever knowledge you were getting ready to go out there to get because those algorithms are smarter than humans. They know exactly what you want. They've seen what you pause on for a couple of seconds, and it's going to throw that right back at you. So all the things you wanted to do are getting inundated with all of your desires. So a lot of times our desires get in our way of what we want to do. And so if you ask that question, like you said, we may get an answer, but then sometimes we just act like we can't see it. We can't see it if I don't pay attention to it, like the boogeyman when you was a kid. If I close my eyes, I can't see it. If you don't pay attention to it, then it's not really there. Then I don't have to action it. But if you ask that question, now you've brought something to life. You put some energy into it. Now you have to do something behind that. Because like you said, the universe is going to start to align itself. Your spirit's going to see it. You put some energy into it because we are made in God's image. We have creativity abilities inside of us. We can create whatever we want and however we want it. We can create a great life on earth or we can create hell on earth.
Absolutely.
It's our choice.
Yep.
So ask the question and then take action. So they have to ask the question first. Okay. Then have some drive because if you're driving, you're asking those questions, and which is going to cause you to take some action. Right. And then decide while you're in the air. And then shift, because you're going to make mistakes. We've all made mistakes. One of my biggest mistakes was when you first tried to tell me about finances and I was locked in over here. I was like, nah, this guy's talking too quick. It was too much. It was too much. It was too fast and it was too good. The information was too good. And I was like, nah, it's too good. And then when I start picking it up, I'm like, this gentleman is really living these things. The things he's talking about, he's really living it. He's really living it. And I definitely don't live in regret. Like I said, I was at a place I wasn't ready. And once I became ready, you were still there, just dumping, pouring knowledge. And I just started to execute. Made some mistakes, I'll execute again. Made a mistake, execute. Shift this way, shift that way, and just continue to drive in the same direction I wanted to go.
There you go. People looking for the secret. There it is. That's the secret. Make a decision.
Make a decision and then do it.
And then do it. That's all it is. Make a decision. This is where we get stuck, so maybe this is where we begin to fumble. It's just in deciding. We become so undecisive, as to what's next. And then we'll get in there, and then our way out of not accomplishing it, well, I tried. That's why that word is so dangerous. Well, I tried. Yeah. For how long? Why didn't you finish? Why didn't you accomplish? See, it's more to it than that. It's more to it than just trying. Why didn't you finish? Why didn't you accomplish? Why didn't you stick to the task? There's a point. Stick to your task till it sticks to you. Beginners are many, but enders are few. Honor, power, place, and praise will come in time for those who stay. So stick to your task till it sticks to you. Bend at it, sweat at it, smile at it too. For after the bend, the sweat, and the smile come life's victories after a while.
Oh man, love it. Love that. What poem is that?
I don't know. I heard it somewhere, and then I just committed to remembering it, man. Actually, I was at a conference, and I heard somebody use it. And I said, man, I got to get that. And I wrote it down, and it's been there. And if you think about this. You look at people, not in judgmental ways, but how many people can really quote a poem of any sort?
That's true.
It takes training to do that, to remember and to quote a poem. It takes time. Guess what? We don't want to give anything, much of anything. We don't give it the time because we so, got a swivel on our heads. We so busy at being busy. This is why most people don't really accomplish a lot of things in their lives because they won't stay focused. They won't stay focused. Why? Ask the question. Here's the question. Why are you here? Why are you here? What are you, what am I to do? What is this person called me, myself, and I all about? What am I to do? See, these are questions. I had to go through that. I had to answer it because we all, in my opinion, is given a purpose. But it's just like wanting to find gold. Well, how do you find gold? It ain't just laying on the top of the dirt. You got to go dig. What are you digging? Inwardly. Inwardly. Think about this, Sergeant Hayden. Every Sunday morning, if God is willing, we get up and we reading this book, The Untethered Soul. I think it's a phenomenal book. This is like my third time going through it. And think about how deep that book is. And it's talking about inward stuff because that's where it all is. It's all inwardly done. The outwardly stuff is just the extremes of actually what you can create inwardly. Why do you have the car that you have? Where did that come from? What the house you live in? Where did that come from? The money you got in the bank? Where did that come from? All these things are manifestations of that drive, that inward thing in you. All of it comes inwardly. So if I can accept that as the truth, then what's the secret? I have to develop this thing in me. And then my rewards for that are the things that are on the outside of me.
I guess that's what they call peeling the onion back. You got to
There
go
you go.
in. You got to go in to peel it back because you can't peel it back until you start going in,
That's right.
and then you get to the sweet part. And I think a lot of times that we have to look at ourselves in the mirror. We have to look down deep, and sometimes we don't like what we see, and that's okay. If you don't like what you see, that's the challenge. Forgive yourself for the mistakes you made. Don't have any regrets, and then move on. Same thing with the finances. High ground financial freedom. One thing I focus on is finances because at the end of the day, that is the great equalizer. That is one of the most stressful points in people's lives is their money. Their money. Where
Absolutely.
money coming in, money going out. Because money, it ties to everything else. All your goods, all your services, your level of comfort in life. And I mean, outside of our spirituality, because that's the end state. The goal is, spirituality. But our finances, sometimes people don't want to look at it. They don't want to go in and dig and create a budget or an expense sheet or an income statement because you start seeing things that you don't want to see. And then once you see it, or once you start looking at asking that question, again, then you have to action it. It's no longer, well, I'm trying to get my money right. I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to do it. No, when you really dig in and look at it, you have to action it. And if there's something you're doing wrong or something you don't know, then now we need to give you some knowledge so that you can make better decisions as opposed to just covering it up, not looking at it. I think I heard a gentleman say that only 15% of Americans are going to be able to live in a place where they can be their leisure life, not retired life, but their leisure life. I'm listening to you. And so only 15%. I mean, it's 85% of people are going to have to continue working, which is not a bad thing. If that's your choice, if you choose to go be the person at Walmart passing out the little yellow stickers, so be it. That might be me, just so I can meet and greet people. I just keep my body moving. But you want a choice. You don't want it to be, I have to continue. Like right now, you don't have to do anything unless you choose to. You're in your leisure life. You made decisions in your life that have set you up for the rest of your life. And that's a good place to be. That is an amazing place to be. It allows you to read and just grow and develop. And it keeps you in an appreciative state, as opposed to as you get older and things are happening in your mind and you're becoming disgruntled. Because as we get older, our bodies are going to go back to the dirt. That happens. That's what's going to happen. But instead of being frustrated behind it, you just understand, hey, I'm reading these books, I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm grateful, I'm still impactful, and life is okay. As opposed to, I got to get up still, I got to go to work, I got to grind, I got to do this, I got to do that. And you're just living and you're disgruntled and things are just so bad. And so I think we need to continue to go in deep. One thing I can take away from you is you've always gone in deep. And now, and as I'm getting ready to close out in with this, one thing that you really said to me that was really impactful throughout the rest of my life, and there was nothing going on in my life with my marriage at the time, but we were just talking. We were in a chow hall one time, and you said, never look at divorcing your wife. I was like, huh? And that was one of the most impactful things to me. Say, because at the end of the day, you're going to get old. You're going to grow. You want to have somebody to grow with you, and I think for me, that was one, outside of the financial stuff, that was one of the most impactful things you said to me as well, was to never look at that. Don't even look at it. Don't even entertain it. Don't even think, don't put no energy into that. And I mean, we're still here 14 years later. Me and my wife are still here doing great in life. I get all the support that I need to thrive in my business. I mean, it's just once I started really supporting her, it just put her in a place of just straight nurturing. If I wanted to switch gears right now, and if I wanted to be an astronaut, whatever training that took, and told my wife I want to be an astronaut today, all I would get is, okay, well, let's figure that out. Let's figure out what it takes for you to be an astronaut. Support on top of support. So, Mr. P,
Yes, sir.
I appreciate you. So, if you could just end with something, like, what could you give people as a takeaway? Because you've given a lot of nuggets. I don't see no degradation in your mind, so ain't nothing gone yet, brother. But if you could leave us with something, man, you done gave so much. You really don't need to leave us with nothing because you done gave so much. But if you could just give us a little bit more before we go, I'd appreciate it.
Well, the only thing I would say to that is change is inevitable, but is it better to direct your change than to simply go through the change?
That's when I thought I got it all. That's
That
woo.
that yeah, that's a mouth. That's a nugget to chew on. That change is inevitable. It's going to happen. But isn't it better to direct the change than to simply go through the change?
Mm. Oh man, well, I appreciate that. I'm gonna go ahead and end with that. So listen, high ground financial freedom fighters. You heard it today from Mr. Pettigrew, Mr. Ronald Pettigrew, my mentor, a gentleman who's still pouring in my life. He just gave you all a lot of information. So hopefully you heard this podcast. Take it to heart. Action it. Dig deep. Okay. Get that word hard out of your vernacular. Get that word try out of there. Okay. And move forward and change. Direct your change. Hope you all have a blessed day. Take care.